Right now, you wake up with that familiar scratch in your throat or the deep fatigue that settles into your muscles after a long day, and without thinking you reach for chicken soup from the fridge, a cup of neutral tea, or perhaps a quick over-the-counter remedy delivered straight to your door. Your body sends clear signals of discomfort, and modern solutions promise fast relief with minimal effort or unpleasantness. But for over 99% of human history, stretching back hundreds of thousands of years through countless generations of our ancestors, when ancient humans got sick, they turned instead to the bitterest wild plants they could find in their environment. Plants that tasted harsh and offered little immediate caloric comfort yet contained powerful chemical compounds capable of fighting infection and easing symptoms from within. In this video, you will uncover the archaeological evidence showing exactly what our deep ancestors consumed during times of illness. You will discover the deliberate, counterintuitive choices they made that challenge our assumptions about primitive survival strategies. And most importantly, you will learn what this ancient pattern of self-medication reveals about your own body's evolutionary expectations and how it responds to sickness in today's world, potentially explaining some of the chronic vulnerabilities we face now. The central scientific anchor for this entire story comes from the meticulous work of researcher Karen Hardy, an evolutionary anthropologist and paleobotanist affiliated with institutions including the University of Glasgow and ICREA. In her 2012 analysis, published in key scientific outlets, Hardy and her team examined dental calculus from Neanderthals discovered at El Sidrón Cave in northern Spain, remains dated to approximately 49,000 years ago. Within the hardened plaque on their teeth, they identified unmistakable traces of yarrow and chamomile. These were not everyday food items. Both plants offered almost no caloric benefit and possessed a strongly bitter, unpalatable taste, yet they are rich in anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, and soothing bioactive compounds. One Neanderthal individual showed clear signs of a serious dental abscess, and the selective presence of these specific non-nutritional plants strongly indicates intentional consumption rather than accidental ingestion. In a harsh prehistoric world without antibiotics, hospitals, or pharmacies, such choices represented a critical survival edge. A single effective self-medication decision could mean the difference between a spreading infection that proved fatal and a body that successfully fought its way back toward recovery and continued contribution to the group. Neanderthals deliberately ate bitter medicinal plants like yarrow and chamomile when sick, despite their unpleasant taste and minimal nutritional payoff. This stands as one of the oldest pieces of direct physical evidence we possess for deliberate self-medication within the human evolutionary lineage, a behavior that predates modern humans and reveals a sophisticated understanding of the natural pharmacy surrounding them. But here is what nobody talks about in our comfortable modern conversations about health and diet. You are not designed to fight illness the way you do it right now, relying almost exclusively on bland, highly processed comfort foods or neutral-tasting pharmaceuticals that primarily mask symptoms without fully engaging the ancient chemical defense pathways your physiology still carries. Your body evolved expecting exposure to bioactive bitter compounds from diverse wild plants, compounds that actively help modulate inflammation, support immune function, and promote recovery in ways that many contemporary remedies do not replicate as directly. The historical evidence is unambiguous from those El Sidrón Neanderthals who selectively consumed yarrow and chamomile precisely during periods of visible illness. This same pattern finds strong echoes among contemporary hunter-gatherer groups who maintain lifestyles much closer to our ancestral norms. Consider the Hadza people of Tanzania, studied extensively by researchers including Alyssa Crittenden and Herman Ponce. Their diet draws heavily on diverse wild plant foods, often comprising the majority of daily calories through tubers, berries, baobab, and other foraged items, supplemented by meat and honey as available. Traditional knowledge guides the targeted use of specific plants during illness, and their gut microbiomes demonstrate remarkable seasonal diversity and resilience tied directly to this varied plant intake. This microbial health remains robust until external pressures introduce processed foods, at which point many of the protective benefits begin to erode. Observations of groups like the Hadza, the San, and the Tsaman consistently show lower rates of many modern chronic inflammatory conditions while they adhere to these traditional patterns, underscoring how our biology still anticipates the complex phytochemicals once gathered daily from the wild. When illness strikes, these populations do not default solely to calorie-dense but pharmacologically neutral options. Instead, they draw on plants that interact with the body at a deeper biochemical level, much as their ancestors did for hundreds of thousands of years. What ultimately shattered this finely tuned ancestral pattern? The profound dietary transformation triggered by the rise of agriculture beginning around 10,000 years ago. As human communities shifted from mobile foraging to settled cultivation of grains and domesticated crops, their daily access to the broad spectrum of wild medicinal plants inevitably narrowed. Foraging ranges shrank, biodiversity in the immediate diet declined, and reliance on fewer staple foods increased. This shift gained unstoppable momentum during the Industrial Revolution of the 18th and 19th centuries, when urbanization, large-scale food processing, and the emergence of pharmaceutical manufacturing delivered unprecedented caloric reliability and rapid symptom relief. Yet this progress carried a hidden cost. We distanced ourselves from the living, variable botanical pharmacy that had shaped human physiology across deep time. A surprising thread of historical continuity highlights just how enduring this knowledge once was. Yarrow, consumed by Neanderthals tens of thousands of years earlier, persisted prominently in medieval European herbal traditions. There it earned the name soldier's woundwort for its reputed ability to staunch bleeding from battlefield injuries and treat fevers. Its Latin name Achillea millefolium traces back to legends of the Greek hero Achilles, who supposedly used the plant to heal his soldiers during the Trojan War. Chamomile followed similar pathways through ancient and medieval texts, recommended for digestive distress, inflammation, and calming effects. These plants bridged the prehistoric and historic worlds, reminding us that the practice of seeking bitter remedies during sickness represented a continuous thread in human culture until relatively recent times. We traded the bitter, nuanced wisdom embedded in wild plants, the very compounds that helped fine-tune immune responses and gut health over hundreds of thousands of years, for the sterile convenience of supermarket shelves stocked with uniform products and prescription bottles offering standardized doses. In gaining consistency and reducing certain immediate risks of mortality from infection, we quietly surrendered a profound, embodied intimacy with the living landscape that once served as our primary healer. Our bodies still carry the genetic and physiological expectations forged during those ancient encounters with yarrow, chamomile, and countless other wild botanicals. Yet on most days when discomfort arises, we answer those deep signals with something far simpler, far less alive, and potentially less aligned with the chemistry our systems evolved to utilize. The resilience that allowed our ancestors to navigate illness in unforgiving environments may still linger within us, but it often remains underutilized, overshadowed by the easier paths we have constructed. What part of that ancient capacity for self-directed healing do we continue to sense as faintly missing when we lie awake with a familiar ache that our modern fixes never quite seem to reach all the way down to the root?